Hello. What do you like under pressure? How do you demonstrate your leadership skills when you are on the spot? You know the sort of pressure I mean. The sort of pressure where you are facing a deadline and it looks horribly close, and it looks even more horribly likely that you're not going to meet it. Or else the sort of pressure where you are being heavily criticised for the proposal that you've just drawn up, possibly even unfairly. How do you demonstrate your leadership skills so that you don't stay on the back foot, but you come forward? My name is Sarah McCloughry of Anrah Development Limited. We help senior people in leadership positions, particularly women in engineering and science, win influence to win stakeholder buy-in. I'm going to tell you a story that I told at the Women in Logistics conference in July 2012. And then I'm going to ask that question again. What are you like under pressure? Okay, here's the story. I never knew my grandfather. My grandfather was born 100 years before I was. He was born in 1852. He joined the Indian Army. He was stationed in Kandahar in Afghanistan in July 1880. He was part of the resistance to the uprising, the Afghan uprising, which then got called the Second Afghan War. And my grandfather, with the rest of his troops, went out to meet a disparate collection of the Afghan army. Ayub Khan had led an uprising of hill tribes and shepherds and disparate elements against that British influence. On July the 27th, 1880, there was the Afghan army lined up against the British and the Indian army. Here they were, relying on flintlocks, very outdated weapons, and relying on sheer force of numbers against probably one of the most sophisticated armies in the world of the time. Lined up too were a group of women behind the Afghan lines. They were women in the supply chain, if you like. They cooked, they washed, they cleaned, they dressed the wounded and supplied water to the troops. If we just focus in for a few moments on one young woman. Now I'm thinking particularly of a young woman called Malalai. Malalai was between the ages of 17 and 19. She had come accompanying her father and her brothers and her fiancé to the battle, and they were busy fighting. Malalai had come up to the line bringing water. You can imagine how dry and dusty it was, and she was coming to supply water to her father, to her brothers, to her fiancé. And according to local legend, it was her wedding day. Malalai was just hauling water up to the line to supply her father, her brothers, her fiancé, when, to her absolute horror, instead of facing their backs towards the British and the Indians, they were facing towards her, running towards her. What would you do? This is the sort of pressure I mean. Malalai grabbed hold of her veil, swung it around her head, calling upon her father, her brothers, her fiancé, and the other men to follow her. She ran towards the British. She saw that a standard bearer was just falling. She grabbed hold of the standard and she carried on running towards the line. Those who'd been run away then followed her into battle once more and defeated the British and the Indian Army. And my grandfather and his troops had to retreat back to Kandahar. Sadly, Malalai died, as you'd expect. However, how is it that I come to be talking about her? It's because she is so well known. Have a look in Wikipedia. Every other girl in Afghanistan today is called Malalai, thanks to her example. This ceremonial sword was presented to my grandfather for his service in that battle. So, what are you like under pressure? What are you going to do when things are looking desperate? When you are being criticised, when you are facing a deadline you can't meet? How are you going to take the initiative rather than stay on that back foot? And in advancing, you demonstrate the leader you are. Well, the first thing that I'm going to suggest is that you relax. Easier said than done, I understand, and it does sound counterintuitive. However, if you're tense, you are likely to become just reactive to the event, to firefight, to be responsive, rather than take the initiative. However, by relaxing, by keeping on breathing, you'll be able then to think more clearly and come up with that creative, intelligent, imaginative solution, which is the winning solution for you, for your team, and for everyone. To find out more, carry on reading my blog, and you will find out what you can do, or even contact me, and you will find out what you can do when you are under pressure.